Hi, I'm JR with the SELECTOOL company. We're going to go through some different kinds of sharpeners, find out which one works best in which situation so you can get the best edge you possibly can on any given knife or edge, no matter where it is, no matter what it is, every single time. Under the big tent term, sharpening, we have three different concepts. We have shaping, we have straightening, and we have smoothing. And these are different. They're not the same thing. And I want you to understand, I'm going to illustrate it just like this. When you've got a rough, dull edge, or even if it's not very hugely dull, it's still dull enough it's not really sharp. It's kind of like this. You have to take off metal to get down to a brand new edge. It doesn't really matter what you choose to do in order to use that, but you got to take off that metal. So typically your choices have been use a flat stone. Challenge with the flat stone. You got to keep the angle of the blade exactly the same with every stroke. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, even if you know how to do it. It'll take you 5 or 10 minutes to get a really tight, clean edge. They came up with what they call a carbide sharpener, which has two little tiny inserts that are carbide, and you're going to do both sides at once. That sounds like a real improvement, but the problem is the knife likes to wander. And there's no real inherent accuracy when it comes to that. It's hard enough to do both sides one after the other, but here you're doing both sides at once. The trickiness factor is even more. If you want to use an old-fashioned file or one of these, this is abrasive. It's going to take off that metal. It's still a lot of skill and challenge, but there are different tools. This is also a V sharpener. You're doing both sides at once. There are an alternative. That's what we have here with the SELECTOOL. And the SELECTOOL is just different because you keep the angle the same on both sides, first side one and then side two. That's the shaping part. Now the second aspect of sharpening, it's just as important, matter of fact sometimes it's even more important, it's called straightening. So let me illustrate. When you sharpen a knife, you're going to sharpen up all the dull metal steel off the side of that edge. It's a nice clean edge, you have the same angle on both sides, congratulations, you did a great job. However, and this is very common and this is actually part of the purpose of sharpening a new knife or sharpening a new edge, is to get that little tiny burr, that little tiny spit of metal, like when you clip your fingernails, you get that little rough edge. That's what we're talking about, that's a burr. That little tiny spit of metal that sticks out there at a weird angle. What you want to do is you want to straighten it and shorten it. So typically you want to use a rod or a steel or a file like this and straighten that metal and straighten it out just like that. And that will straighten that edge and make it very useful. Here in the SELECTOOL, we've got two inserts that are rounded. We're going to go to the right and we're going to go to the left, and that's how we straighten the edge, and that'll make that edge work a lot better and last a lot longer. Matter of fact, 9 times out of 10 when it comes to a dull knife or an underperforming knife, what you want to do is you want to straighten it rather than take off all that little metal using something abrasive like you did in the first place. And this is a very common thing that people, they get that nice sharp edge with whatever they used, and they want to repeat that when the knife is just a little bit dull, and they use the stone, they use the pull through. It doesn't work so well, and they can't really figure out what's going on. It's because it didn't really need to be shaped anymore. It's already shaped, we just need to straighten it. So look, if you're a butcher, if you're a meat cutter, you know this, you're going to cut, you're going to steel. Cut, steel. The butcher, the meat cutter, the professional, he is going to spend the vast majority of his time straightening the edge. Now, if you don't have access to my SELECTOOL that has those little inserts there on the side, or the kitchen steels, you can take your car and roll the window halfway down and use the top edge of the car glass to straighten up that edge. And you'll keep that edge nice and straight. It'll perform much better than if you let it go and you get it all the way to here and now it's dull again and you got no choice but to go back after the shaper. So shaping, straightening, and then the third one is called smoothing, in which we're going to use something a little abrasive, like a piece of ceramic or a diamond honed or the old-fashioned Arkansas whetstone. That little stone, and you might see your dad or your grandfather sitting there using that little stone, keeping that edge nice and clean, nice and tight. Well, you can do that. You can really hone that edge really nice. But here's the issue, okay? And this is why, even though this and this look very similar, these are not abrasive, whereas these are. So if the edge wears which is what it will do, and those little tiny teeth start to bend and fold over. What you want to do is straighten them back up over and over. They're resilient. They'll straighten back up if you use ceramic or the diamond hone. And you use that to remove the little metal on both sides. Yes, you'll get a nice clean edge, but what you don't know, imperceptibly, progressively, you'll start to flatten your edge, okay? And before you know it, you're here, and the knife is not sharp. And you don't know why, because you kept up with it. And you bought something specifically to keep it nice and sharp, and you felt like it was really sharpening it. And now it's here, and you don't know why. So, that's the aspect that you have to be aware of if you're going to use something that's a little abrasive to maintain your edge. So, this is the proper breakdown. This is what you want to do on an ongoing basis, all right? You want to shape the edge. You want to go from dull and rough to smooth and well-shaped, same angle on both sides. Once it's been shaped, you want to straighten. All right, those little tiny teeth, either that little burr, straighten it. Those little tiny microscopic teeth that have been bending and folding and being used, straighten them back up. Shape once, straighten many, many. And then, if you want to use the diamond hone, or the diamond rod, or the ceramic, or the Arkansas whetstone, when the edge has been straightened, and that edge is looking just like that, you can use the ceramic to remove the little tiny remnant. That will keep that edge nice and clean, nice and tight. You're not taking off any more metal than you need to. You're not wearing it down, you're not flattening it prematurely. You're simply using that the way it's designed to be used. It's going to work much better. It's going to last much longer. If, after shaping, you straighten, and if you want that really clean, perfect, like a factory edge, then use the ceramic or the diamond hone to make that super smooth and tight and very clean and very smooth. Let me demonstrate to you really quickly. I'm going to shape the edge on my select tool. I'm going to do first the side one, then I'm going to do the side two. As I do that, I've got a little tiny burr, which you can see, that little tiny gray line right there. That's why you want to straighten this. Go to the right, go to the left, true that, clean that, keen that, hone that, deburr that all the way to the tip. And then as you use the knife a little bit, come back in here. Use the knife a little bit, come back here in here. That's to maintain. And now you're here. Nice, clean, crisp, sharp edge. See that? If you want to make it like factory, bring in the piece of ceramic. And as you go away from the edge and feel that little bit of roughness. That little bit of roughness will convert into these little filings. You'll go into the edge, you'll go into the edge, alternating, and you'll feel that's nice and smooth. And then finish up with a small handful of these till both sides feel the same. And now you're here. You're extremely tight, extremely clean, extremely smooth. If you need that kind of an edge, that factory quality edge, that's how you get it. If you use a knife a little bit, it gets run down. Don't go back to the ceramic. Use the steel, or use the inserts here, or use one of these other smoothers. See, these are straighteners. These are straighteners. That's what these are designed to do. That's not going to remove any metal. These are straighteners. Same idea. A lot of times, that's all your knife needs, is just to be straightened. So use the straighteners repeatedly. Use my little inserts here. Use the top of a car window. Use the edge of a glass table. Use a glass tube. This is an anodized aluminum rod. Use that. Keep it nice and straight. The knife's going to work a lot better, last a lot longer. You'll be a lot happier. Shaping, straightening, smoothing, the three aspects from the big tent heading. Sharpening. Use the right tool at the right time. Keep your knives as sharp as you can for the rest of your life. Happy sharpening.